That's one, is just like get on your mobile phone and spend 10, 15 minutes clicking around your website. Or even better, because you might have some blindness to your website, get one of your friends or family to do it and see how long it takes them and listen to their frustration, while you're doing it, and you might have some good feedback.
Kurt Phillip, welcome to the ROI Online Podcast.
Amazing, right?
So what motivates you, Kurt? Why do you care so much about conversion rate optimization? That's coming from something in the past that really the light bulb went on for you on how important that is. Where does that come from?
Well, I think the meaning of life is to have a purpose, right? So I have other hobbies and interests that I also have the same sort of focus and motivation, but conversion rate optimization was something that I'm very analytical. I'm very long-term goal orientated, and it just fit in line a lot with my personality. And I'm an extrovert, so my personality gravitates towards agency style, where I'm helping and solving problems for people. So I think it was a bunch of, a decade or so of working on different businesses, and all came together to be conversion rate optimization that really fit what I'm all about. Yeah.
So is Convertica more technology, or is it more about your team?
It's a mix. Yeah. It's because of the amount of strategy and hypothesis that go into the testing. Of course, we couldn't run it without the technology, but we couldn't run it without the team too. So it's not essentially it's definitely not a SaaS business. It's more of a productized service. So there's still a lot of customer interaction between customer support, the sales side, and then keeping the customer updated, because customers usually with us 4 to 6 months, sometimes 1 and 2 years, but generally 4 to 6 months on average. So keeping that relationship over that length of time, it's taken us a lot to get it right, but it's going really well now. So
do you see that the process, a lot of folks that we work with, they're building out courses that this past year has convinced them that their traditional business model needs to adapt. And one of the ways they're adapting are providing services that teach what they do. So that means they end up with courses, or they end up with classes, things that convey the knowledge of how they go about their expertise. What do you see as far as, or what have you kind of noticed as far as trends on what you do and the insights that you've seen that's different than an Amazon store? How would you approach the conversion process for courses or teaching classes?
It's essentially the same process. So we've had plenty of course guys that we've worked with. I released my own course a few years ago. We haven't put too much focus into it just because we're too busy fulfilling our service. But we've worked with a lot. It's essentially the same thing. It's like, here's one variation, here's another variation. Send your users or students or any set of traffic at the website and see what increases the goal you have defined, right? That's what a conversion is. It doesn't have to be a sale. It doesn't have to be a sign up. It could also be a newsletter subscriber. It could be a click of a button. It could be a bunch of stuff. So essentially the same process for course guys, or same process for an e-commerce store. The strategy and the hypothesis going into what we're going to test is obviously very different, but it essentially follows the same principles.
The variables that can be measured on a page or an email or a social media post, they're unlimited. People can change. All right, we'll change the color of the button this time. There seems like there would be a lot of variations that you would need to observe to land upon the most optimized version of it, correct?
Yeah, but there's also the 80-20, right? Like, there's most people And if we've analyzed this by adding what's called scroll maps to a website, where you can see how far down people scroll, and then you can see that 95% of the users don't go past a certain point. So then you know what area to focus on the page. And then once you focus on that page, then you can see on the top 10% of the page, 90% of users only go to one area of that part. So then you can really double down on, okay, we need to run a heap of tests on this specific area of the page, because that's where all the actions happen. You don't want to go and test areas that, right down the bottom, the footer menu or something, because, no one's looking at that. So yeah, while it's infinite, there's also a very rigid framework you can follow by following I wouldn't even say the 80-20 principle. It would be more like the 90-10 principle. People are, 10% of the page will be creating 90% of the interaction on most pages. Yeah.
I wonder, of all the websites that are out there, what's the one little variable that they could, based on your observation over the years, is probably one little thing that would make a big difference that they could immediately impact those that are listening to this podcast? What would that be?
Jump on your mobile phone and try and complete a process, for instance, buying an item on your site or signing up for something, and see how that experience is for you on your own website on your phone. I think it will surprise a lot of people, So most websites we look at, that's what we start with, is just like jump on your phone and see how the experience is. While on your website, on the website on your computer, it might be slick. You might have spent most of the time, because most people are editing their websites, changing copy, uploading images on their website, on their desktop, not on their phone. So spend some time on your mobile and see how it feels. And then honestly, you can Google what are the best 10 things to change now for conversions on your mobile, and it'll tell you. And it's like, oh, of course, why didn't I think of this? It's like I said, websites are designed on the computer. Websites are updated on the computer. I don't think I've ever logged into WordPress on my phone to make a change, because it's difficult. It's like, it's easier than it used to be, don't get me wrong. But unless you're a really good typer on your phone, you're not going to write a blog post on your phone. You're going to jump on your computer and smash it out and then post it. So that's the reasoning so that would be what I'd say. And it's not specifically an easy answer to say, change this to buy now or add to cart on your, your call to action button on your product page. But that's one, is just get on your mobile phone and spend 10-15 minutes clicking around your website. Or even better, because you might have some blindness to your website, get one of your friends or family to do it and see how long it takes them, and listen to their frustrations, while you're doing it, and you might have some good feedback.
Do you think, when I look at the stats on the mobile visits to websites that we work on, that it's around 50%. And so Are you seeing the same thing, or are you seeing it higher? Generally,
it's higher. For e-commerce sites, for affiliate websites, it's usually 60, 70, 80% sometimes. So I think ours is around 60. And I think it's because people are just generally, I think what will happen is people will search for queries while they're out and about, commuting, at lunch, having coffee, whatever. And then they'll go and make the purchase on their computer. So I think a lot of the time, a lot of the research is done, and the buying process and trying to convert people is done on the phone, and the actual purchasing a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time is done on the computer. Depends on the website though, because I know Amazon's website is fantastic, and I bought many a thing and it's turned up at my house and I forgot I've even bought it, because they make the buying process so slick. And I think a lot of people can learn a lot from just playing around on Amazon's website if you have an e-commerce store. But yeah.
So we've been talking with Kurt Phillip. He's the founder and CEO of Convertica. It's his company helps you get more out of your website, more out of your shopping cart, your process. And so, Kurt, I always like to ask, what's one question that you never get asked that you'd love to answer?
That's a weird question.
I'm a weird guy.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone stumps for a bit, right? Because you asked me that question. I think, how am I supposed to answer that? Am I answering it with what is the question that I want to be answered?
Yeah, I'm digging. I like to find maybe there's something passionate that you're kind of, you love to talk about, but no one ever asks you, or you don't ever get to explore that.
I think everyone should do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I think it's the most humbling and self-development sport in the world. And I think the world would be a happier place if everyone did it, for sure.
Everyone needs to get their ass kicked.
No, it's very humbling. It teaches you a lot about yourself. It teaches you to always learn from failure and feedback. And it's a very long process to become an expert, 6 to 10 years. So it requires long-term goals, dedication, turning up every day, all these type of things. And it's definitely made me a better person since I've started training it. So
when did you get exposed to that? Is that you're in Thailand now for this conversation? Is that where you were introduced to that?
No, I do it all around the world now, but it's I met some very enlightened people over the years, and that was always what was the defining factor. They all did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was like, interesting. I'm noticing it's like a very calm, humble personality they would always have. And I went and did it myself, and it definitely humbled me up a lot and brought me back down to earth. From, it's just very good for ego checking, and yeah.
Awesome. I love that. So what's the future for Convertica?
I love it at the size it's at right now. So I think just maintaining our current scope, we're looking to acquire some businesses to add on to, if I can see some strategic acquisitions that align with, what our goals are. But yeah, we're seeing good growth. We're seeing the team is automating, using a lot of technology now to remove a lot of the human element, because there's so much good software out there that plug and plays with Zapier now. So you can automate so much of the repetitive, mundane tasks. So I'm very excited where the next 5 to 10 years is going with technology and how we can embrace that. And I think everyone needs to get on the internet at some point, because a lot of these jobs are getting automated, and a lot of people are going to be left behind, I guess, right? I think it's already happening. It's already happening now. So it just requires you to be self-accountable and go out there and learn yourself, right? And that's the hard part for a lot of people who haven't sort of done that before. It takes a lot of balls to begin with, I think.
Yeah. So where's a good place for people to find you or connect with you, Kurt?
Yeah, so convertica.org/blog. I mean, I've got all my contact details on the sidebar in there. And then we put out a lot of content on there too, related to conversion rate optimization. We share case studies about winning tests that we have, and yeah, so.
Well, good, Kurt. I've really enjoyed having you on the ROI Online Podcast. You've been a great guest.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that's a wrap.